from in California where them gangsters bang ghetto life, thugging on the corner. Youngest child of 6. When I came, Pop split with Mama. Used to visit on weekends till he moved to the north side of Cali. 14, he died. 15, my mom's died. Alcoholic, diabetic forces want my life too.
Blackalicious were a hip-hop duo from California. They were Gift of the Gab, which was the stage name for Tim Parker, who was the rapper, and Chief XL, which was the stage name for Xavier Mosley, who was the MC and producer. They were active from 1994 to 2021, and in that time they released 4 studio albums. Hi, my name is Dan, and this was the second album from Blackalicious, and it's my first encounter with them as an act, and therefore with this album as well. So what I'm going to do is, what I try and do with these reviews is I try and give you some background, which I've done. I try and give you some description, which I'm about to do, and I try and give you some opinion. So let's get into the description. And usually when I have hip-hop, what I do is I approach it from kind of the bottom upwards, as I think of it. So the drums, we got drums loops, of course, here. I don't have a huge amount of information about this album, so I don't know if these are I hesitate to say real drums, because I know drum loops that are sampled are still real drums, but I don't think they're samples. I think they're somebody playing drums. I'm not entirely sure. And there's some nice what I think of as slow funk grooves in this. It's kind of laid back, and there's a looseness to the timing, which is in this kind of stuff is good. And I would say that musically, that's the general, the most common feel is kind of slow soul funk kind of stuff. It's pretty varied though. There's also, bits of keyboards and bass that, again, it sounds like it might be a real bass rather than samples. There are definitely bits in here that are samples as well. Some bits are quite empty, but there are some curious bits in here as well. There's a bit that's classical cello, I think. There's a bit that's interesting percussion that's matching the rap that's going on. So as they're on the syllables of the words, you get hits on the drums. That's in a track called Chemical Calisthenics. Sorry. There are some bits of singing at various points. There's especially some nice female soul singing going on at various points, and so up to the rapping. So we've gone up kind of the steps as I think of it. So the main rapper here is Gift of Gab, but they do have some guest rappers. What would be a hip hop album without guests? It's the thing that you have to do. But they don't have a lot in the way of linking vignettes. They do have linking bits, but it's not kind of real life vignettes in the same way that some hip hop albums have. It seems to be kind of almost compulsory these days. Gift of the Gab's quite fast. It's a nice flow. I enjoy his rapping. Yeah, it sounds a bit strange for me. Sometimes it's a bit hard to pick out the words because it's so kind of percussive and quite fast. I found it easier to pick out some of the guest rappers that were on there. And the lyrics. So the lyrics can be quite curious at times. They're mostly kind of stream of consciousness things. So it's kind of, or when I can hear, when I can make it out, is mostly kind of little bits of disconnected phrases that do kind of connect in kind of the background subjects, but they're not like sentences in the same way that you might expect. And it's painting pictures as it does this. It's kind of odd in some ways, but in a good way. There's a track that seems to be about chemistry. There's a track about passions. There's a track about spirituality, I think. There's a track about friendship. There's certainly certain amounts of social commentary going on a bit. So now for some opinion. I really liked it. And this is a bit of a shocker because this is a hip-hop album. And those people who have been watching along as I go through this journey, hi guys, and if you've only just joined me, do come and join me on this journey by subscribing and getting that, dinging the bell thing so you get notified when I do another video. I'm doing this. You've probably gathered already, but I'm doing the 3,000 greatest albums of all time, and working from number 3,000 up to number 1, and this is according to a list of a site called Acclaim Music. There are people who comment fairly often on my videos, and I really enjoy it, so thanks, guys. And I think I'm getting a reputation for not liking hip-hop, and I think this is a justified thing. So this is the shocker. I've actually finally found a hip-hop album that I actually really quite like. And so it hits some really good points for me. The music is good, it's groovy, when it isn't groovy, it's interesting, and it's not aggressive music, which is often when the hip hop backing that I tend to like least is the really dirty drum beats with not much else, and it's not even a nice groove, and then just using what I think of as irritating sounds like siren-y sounds kind of as well. So this was musically nice. I enjoyed it. The rap flow I enjoyed. Lyrically, it was fine. It was good. It was interesting and varied. So it hit all sorts of good points for me, and it didn't hit some of the bad points that I often find with hip hop and rap. So I didn't find it kind of too modern, empty soul. I think that some modern soul is just a bit lacking in soul, and this has soul. It's not. It doesn't have difficult messages in it that I struggle with. And this is probably my biggest problem with hip hop often and rap, is that it's certainly gangster rap, when it starts glorifying fairly atrocious behaviour and gun culture and the murder and things like that. I'm not keen when it's hard to find 20 seconds without any swearing in it. And I can get unkeen on that as well. There are a few ripe words in this, but not enough to worry me overly at all. So I think my question then, for people who do know hip-hop much more than I do, is this an outlier? Is this kind of considered to be on the fringes of hip-hop? Or is this still thought of as kind of mainstream in terms of hip-hop? Because if it is mainstream, then there's hope for me yet, and there might be other good hip-hop albums out there that I've yet to discover. If it's an outlier, then kind of, maybe it's true that I don't like hip-hop much, but there are some elements that I do like. Anyway, enough of that from me. If you want to give me your opinion, you want to talk to me about any of this, you want to say anything about the review or the album, I'd love to hear from you. And the easy thing to do, of course, is to type something in English, because that's my only language, in the comments box. That's it from me for now.
Uranium, if yours was uranium, molecule spontaneous combustion. Law of definite proportion, gain ink weight. I'm every element around. Lead, gold, tin, iron, platinum, zinc. When I rap, you think iodine, nitrate, activate. Like uranium, the only difference is I transmit sound. Balance with some balance, then you add a little talent in. Careful with those ingredients. They can explode and blow up if you drop them and they hit the ground.